Now, you may not dig this, bro, but dig this.
What's up? LL Cool J is hard as hell. Yo, man. LL Cool J, the legend, the old school, the first solo hip hop artist. I mean, man, dude put out his first record in 1984, man. The first record on Def Jam Records. Now, you got to understand, dude. I got into hip hop in the early 80s. 83, I was in, man. So when LL Cool J came out, he was like one of the newest artists when I stepped into the game. And right off the bat, it was just like, you could tell he had something, man. Because his voice, like his aggressive, like delivery, like descriptive, like text and all that stuff, like, you know, his hat, his Kango hat, and just the gold chain. Like, man, this dude was like the embodiment of the ultimate hip hop MC, man. Not even just rap. This dude was like hip hop, like everything, dude. Had the radio, the boombox. I mean, yeah, dude. LL Cool J, he's the classic definition of old school hip hop. Okay? So, now, why am I excited? Because, man, a couple weeks ago, he released a new album called The Force. Now, I mean, personally, I followed LL like from, like I said, 1984 when his first record came out, I Need a Beat. And throughout the 80s, man, he was like one of the, I mean, yeah, he was a superstar, but dude, he was also a technical MC. I mean, he was right up there with like Rakim, Big Daddy Kane, Cool G Rap, Cool Keith. I mean, yeah, KRS One, like he was right there, dude. Like, I mean, he was more famous than those dudes, but some people, like, when you get famous, sometimes like people think, oh, this guy's too famous or this group is too famous. They kind of like can't really understand that they could actually be like one of the best at the same time as being super popular. Because I mean, popularity, it kind of clouds your thoughts sometimes. Sometimes people take success as like mainstream or like sellout, or I don't know, man. You know, if someone is out there popular, it's real easy to like mention that name if it's popular, if it's in, you know, the mainstream and everything. So if you're like, hey, what, you listen to hip hop? What do you listen to? Oh, I listen to LL Cool J. You don't know how much weight that holds because everyone knows LL Cool J. I mean, so it's almost like, yeah, you got to do better than that. I mean, it just so happens that LL Cool J, being the hip hop star he was back in the 80s, he was also a groundbreaking MC, man. And, you know, people don't really understand that these days. Because these days, I mean, let's face it, his more popular songs are like, you know, songs about like the girls, and maybe the track is a little more like R&B influenced, you know? Not this, I mean, Mama Said Knock You Out, that was probably his last aggressive hit that people probably, you know, across the board associate LL Cool J with that song being like, you know, a rhyme, battle rhyme, writer, MC, champion, you know, just going for it, you know, lyrics, you know, hardcore, man. But since then, you know, it's just been like hits that were just more for the clubs and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, I guess during like the mid 90s, like I guess after the Mama Said Knock You Out album, I just kind of like, you know, there were other MCs and other artists that were killing the mic that kind of like made me focus on them more and not so much LL Cool J. But never for a second, uh, not knowing that he was a legend, and he is a legend, dude. I mean, man, he's like I said, dude, he's like the first generation of hip hop superstars. And you had like Run DMC, Beastie Boys, even a little before that, Curtis Blow was kind of like the first kind of rap soloist that was getting like, recognition. Dude, he was on Soul Train. If you're on Soul Train, dude, back in the early 80s, you're pretty much a superstar, you know. And then, there was groups like Houdini, like Fat Boys. I mean, other artists that were like pretty big, selling gold records. And but LL Cool J, he was part of that first wave of superstar hip hop celebrity, And so anyway, man. So yeah, like I said, I did, in the mid 90s, 2000s, I didn't even focus on LL. I was just like, he's just a legend. He doesn't have to do anything. I mean, he did his thing. I mean, he's a pioneer. Hey, man, let the veterans have their respect and, leave it at that. But dude was still putting out, records now and then. And of course, the big hits, I heard just because hits are heard everywhere. And I was like, oh, LL, still putting music out. He got this record. It's an obvious hit. They're playing the video. I hear it in the clubs. I'm not really feeling it that much, but, as an MC myself, just hearing the rhymes, I mean, I was like, I never thought the rhymes that he was saying were whack, dude. I mean, even though some of the songs were like not my style, kind of more like, softer, kind of for the ladies, for the clubs. His lyrics were still, I mean, you could tell he still was sharp, lyrically. Stylistically, like I said, man, I preferred the old school LL where he was just battling MCs and just being, trying to be the dominant figure in hip hop. And but anyway, then I started to see him in like films, and then eventually he had this, spot on this TV show, and yeah, but whenever he was like being interviewed or anything, like he was always cool still, like the way he talked and everything. I was like, he doesn't sound to me like he's just oblivious and he's never struck me as someone who's gone Hollywood, like I would say the Fresh Prince, also known as Will Smith. Now that's a good comparison because Will Smith started also as an MC, and he was pretty popular too. I mean, Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, they had some hit records that gave them popularity, not just in the hip hop world, outside the hip hop world. And then, obviously, dude got Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He was in movies and just, he just became like a big old star, dude. And, but then when they would interview him, like, years after he wasn't really putting out music anymore, just by listening to him speak and everything, I'm like, what, this dude is like, he probably got in the rap game just because he, that was the thing to do. Like all the kids were jumping into hip hop. Everyone was going for what they knew. If you were good at dancing, you were breaking. If you knew how to write, you were graffitiing. If you had, personality and wit like he did, an MC is the perfect fit. If you knew how to cut, knew about music, DJing was the thing. But I think he just fell into that. And then once other things came, he just kept going and, kind of left, kind of put the mic on the shelf and just never picked it up again. I mean, yeah, he put music out, years into his movie career and stuff. But man, those songs were whack, dude. It was just like, and I never considered him to be a legend, when he was doing hip hop. So I guess it's not the best comparison, but it's the only one I can make because LL Cool J is also a big star, in Hollywood and on TV and just a dude. He's like hosting like award shows and yeah, dude. He's a list celebrity for sure, man. But he's also one of the first hip hop legends, man. So anyway, man. So yeah, like I said, I would hear him do interviews and stuff, and I'm like, you know what? LL Cool J still sounds like LL Cool J, And then, this album comes out, and but he was talking a lot. Wait, hold on, let me back up. I gotta mention this too. So what really piqued my interest was when LL Cool J started Rock the Bells, which is that radio show he has on Sirius XM and or iHeartRadio, one of those, dude. Anyway, so he was like, yeah, I created this radio station to play all the, the golden era hip hop, so it doesn't like disappear in obscurity, like he wants, just like they have like classic rock stations. He wanted classic hip hop station, and I was like, man, this dude he's down for the cause. He's still got one foot in the game, and I was like, I was like, dude, that's dope. I had mad respect for him for doing that, dude. And but then he started doing shows and bringing old school other legends like Big Daddy Kane and Roxanne Shante, like even Run DMC, like putting putting them out on stage doing shows, Rock the Bells concerts. And I'm like, man, this is dope, man. This dude is like becoming like I don't know, dude, like the Quincy Jones of hip hop or something, like bringing, keeping the culture alive, kind of like KRS-One, trying to promote hip hop culture and all that stuff. But dude, LL Cool J is a monster. He's a big celebrity. He's got more pull, so his efforts are just more influential. And I was thinking, man, this is cool that someone as powerful as LL is pushing hip hop, like old school boom bap hip hop, even like new school stuff too, but that has that spirit of hip hop, man. Killing the mic, break beats, that kind of stuff. So anyway, so now there was talk about him recording an album, and I was like, oh man. So then I look back on the album that he put out. I think it was 2012 or something like that, 2014, something like that, dude. And I listened to it, and I was like, you know what, man, this is like I mean, it didn't like totally suck, because I don't think LL Cool J could ever suck. I mean, because the dude knows how to write. So, I mean, even though the lyrics weren't like lame, it just still wasn't like clicking with me, man. It just wasn't something that I was, I just wasn't digging it, And so I'm like, what's this new album gonna be like, right? And so now I'm anticipating it. And there was actually, it leaked. They leaked that song, The Force. And I remember I looked, as soon as I found out that there was a leak of that song, I found it on YouTube and I played it. And I was like, you know what, man, this is pretty decent, And, but I haven't heard LL Cool J like that in such a long time. I was taking like some time for me to process what I was listening to, and I was like, you know what, I think this sounds pretty good, man. I'm like, it definitely sounds like LL Cool J, and the beat, I heard it was produced by Q-Tip from A Tribe Called Quest, and I'm like, you know what, man, this is legit. But I was kind of surprised that there wasn't really any like hype about it. Like, not everybody was talking about it, and I was just kind of like, and there wasn't even that many views on the video, and I was like, and I looked on Spotify, and it wasn't up on Spotify yet. I'm like, what's going on here, man? Is this like too little, too late, or I don't even know what's up. I mean, what I heard was decent. I want to hear something else too. Was this just like the best he could do, or is there more to come? I was anticipating it, man, and so finally, he officially puts out. Oh man, what song was it, dude? I think it was The Force. Now that I'm making this video, dude, I don't even remember, man. But it wasn't. I mean, I've already heard that from the leak. It wasn't until I heard that song "Passion" that I was like, yo, man, this dude. I think this dude is back because I mean, the way he's rhyming on that song, it's like it's still LL Cool J. Like it's still his attitude. It's still his voice, his dialect, but he just upgraded the flow more. It's like there's more work going, more technical stuff happening, and I'm like, you know what, man, this is like LL Cool J 2024, man, which is dope, man, because one thing, like, it's one thing to like reinvent yourself, but it's another thing to just make yourself better. Take what you already have and just run with it and take it up a notch. Just keep going in that same direction you started, a long time ago, and just take it further. Just take it up another notch, and that's what he does, man. He's rhyming. It sounds like it's coming from his foundation back in the days. Some of the flows are like, I kind of recognize some of it from the old records, but then there's these new kind of things in there, and this the perspective, his attitude, the delivery, like it's all genuine, dude. And I'm like, man, this is cool. This is like a blueprint for other artists from that generation or a little after that. Because one thing you got to understand too is that in reference to hip hop, old school hip hop, it's either the super extreme like Sugar Hill Gang, Grandmaster Flash, Furious 5, like borderline 70s hip hop, or it's like the 90s hip hop, like Wu-Tang Clan, A Tribe Called Quest, Cypress Hill. I mean, and those are all dope artists. But I mean, that is what people refer to as old school when they say old school. They don't really, it's almost like the 80s are kind of like this void where it's not really mentioned. Like, dude, because personally, for me, the golden era of hip hop is 85 to 95. I mean, that's my decade of excellence right there. That, to me, that was the most, it gave me the most inspiration, and I was, mostly impressed by what MCs, DJs, producers, what they were all doing musically. To me, that was the golden era of hip hop. My biggest inspiration comes from between those years, music wise. As far as like, graffiti and breakdancing and all that other stuff, that's different. I would choose different years for those influences. But anyway, so LL Cool J, he finally drops the whole album. And now I'm listening to every track. And man, it's like every track is just like solid. And I gotta say, man, not every track on there is, I'm not really feeling it like I am other tracks, but I still recognize the quality in it. And it doesn't sound like something that was just whipped up all these tracks sound like they're just deep tracks. Like, you know, the more I listen to them, the more I'm like, you know, I'm catching stuff, and I'm like, I'm feeling things that are like, okay, you know, maybe this isn't my vibe, but man, I'm now that I'm listening to it, I know there's a lot there. It's a deep. They're all deep cuts, man. I mean, and listening to his interviews about the album, how it was made, uh, yeah, it was from the ground up, like, you know, organic. You know, it wasn't like everyone was in the same room getting inspired, creating it from nothing, coming together, just like just like they used to do, man, back in the old school days, especially during like my chosen era of hip hop, 85 to 95. That's when there was groups. It wasn't just solo artists like today, it's mostly solo artists. Back then you had crews, man, coming together, vibing off each other, ciphering, man, like just building stuff from, you know, the ground up, all these different influences and you know, everyone getting some input, you know, and the chemistry being created, inspiring, you know, ideas and sounds, and just the whole, you know, collage of samples that were being used also to just take hip hop into just all these different places, man. Such an exciting time, dude. But anyway, I'm getting that from this album, man. And it's no wonder because, hey, you got LL, who's the legend from back in the 80s. You got Q-Tip, also a legendary artist in his own right, not to mention his group of Tribe Called Quest, which is a group that revolutionized the jazz influence in hip hop. It's just like, man. And then these other artists that are on the album too, you know, Busta Rhymes, Nas, there's some other ones, dude. Eminem is on there. I mean, these are all other artists that are like also in their 50s, man. I mean, dude, I'm 52. And so these are like my peers. These are like my contemporaries that are on this album. And they're killing it, man. And LL Cool J, who's like 56 on this album. And I'm like, yes, dude, this is like, he's our guy, man. I mean, LL, he represents my generation of hip hop, you know? And it's just cool that his album is getting noticed. And it's also, like I said, dude, LL is like such a big celebrity. He's on all the morning shows, like the TV shows, and he's on the radio. I mean, he's got this whole promotional media tour going on right now. He's everywhere, dude, because he's got that muscle, man, that celebrity muscle, and he's got the name, dude, and he's just a lot of kids who just know him from like the TV show or whatever. They're just like, what? This dude's like a legendary rapper. I mean, we kind of heard, I guess he was legendary back in the ancient times, but he's over here 2024 dogging the mic. I mean, you know, making other MCs like open their eyes and their ears and be like, yo, man, this dude is like, he ain't sleeping, man. And it kind of makes the new school ask themselves, are we sleeping? I mean, if dudes on this level, I mean, we got to be at least on that level, you know? I mean, anyway, dude. So, yeah, the Force album, dude, it's cool, man. And I just felt I had to make a video and express my thoughts about it. And because, like I said, LL Cool J, dude, he's from our generation, man. He represents us, you know, the 80s hip hop generation. And check this out, dude. So this is from 1985, Def Jam release on the maroon color. I mean, I know they changed to maroon think in the 90s too, but after the maroon color, I think in like 86, they changed to black, and they had the black color for a long time. And then, like I said, they changed it back to the maroon. But dude, you could tell this record has been used. I mean, there's graffiti on it. It's like, from 1985. It's the 12-inch single to "I Want You," and on the B side is "Dangerous." And this is how long I've been in the LL Cool J, man. From the get, as soon as he was putting records out, I was obtaining those records, dude. And so the fact that here we are in 2024, and dude put out a record that is like decent, and in some cases more than that, exceptional. It's just dope to know that our generation still has it, dude, and there's still more to give. I mean, so hip hop has to open their ears to the old school, and I hope some of these other artists from back then also get inspired by this and start putting some more music out, because it's been said that hip hop is a young man's game, and there's a lot of truth to that, but all new forms of music and culture start out as a young person's game because it's new, and it's always the young people that start things that are new. But hey, man, if the fire doesn't burn out and you just keep going, then you get artists like, the Rolling Stones, Bruce Springsteen, Billy Joel. I mean, artists that are still out there, big artists. Dude, I saw the Rolling Stones like a couple years ago, and they were dope. And like I said, dude, music is cool because you don't have to be an athlete to be into music. You can still make music, with your creative mind and with minimal physical ability. You can still get it out, dude. And artists, that's the thing about art that's cool. There's a lot of ways to get there. You just have to figure it out up here, dude. All right, man. So that's it. I hope you liked the video. If you haven't heard The Force, check it out, man. Old school hip hop ain't that old anymore. All right, y'all. Peace and vinyl.